Okay, Craig. Just a crazy, crazy game.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, we were winning. It looked great. Looked terrible. Looked great. Looked terrible. Back and forth. Back and forth. And the next thing you know, we lose. Your initial thoughts right now?
Um, my initial thoughts are I'm mad.
Yep.
I think honestly, outside of the fan perspective, I think it just felt like a slow death all game. Whether it was injuries, whether it was turnovers, whether it was, I don't think someone can run play action more than they ran play action. Play action to the flat, play action to the flat, play action to the flat, play action to the flat. Like I mean, and it was just nickel and diming us to
Jeez.
death. And so I was just, my initial response was like, same new year, same story. Seattle Seahawks, we just can't beat them.
Can't beat them. Come in. You nailed it. Just come in. He throws this light lob out into the flat. And so you're like, all right, sweet. Come up, get them. And they get
Mhm.
7.
I know.
And
They just always squeeze by us for a little bit more. Kenneth Walker always squeezes for a little more. DK Metcalf muscles for a little bit more. Like
bro,
Lockett makes
yes.
a contested catch. Like Geno Smith, like we can sack any other quarterback, but Geno Smith for some reason is elusive. So I don't know why it is with the Seahawks, but maybe it's just a bad matchup for Aaron Glenn.
Yeah. Literally feels like that. Just a bad, because you're right. It's just we stop them for 3-yard rush and Kenneth gets 5. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought we had him for 3. That's fine, right? 2nd and 5, and then another little just and then I just, it's so frustrating with these guys. I just don't. And really the Seahawks are who I thought we were, but just physical, tough.
Yeah.
And this was a prime, we should have known better. I really, so let me go one thing here. I was just going to say, this is prime Vegas money making, take your money game, because
Yes.
we're so high on the Lions. You saw the Lions. Seahawks are not, they lost. And so we're all just like, oh, at home, nah, take your money. Unbelievable.
Take my money. Not mine. I didn't bet on it.
That's right.
But I know better. So I do.
Right?
I know better than to do any of that kind of stuff. Don't bet where your heart is. That's what I always say.
Yep.
But like it is difficult, man. And you're watching the game and then they find a way to get back. They find a way to bring it back to overtime. So you start to have hope. And then it turned into what it turned into every year. It's seemingly with the Seahawks, which whoever has the ball last wins.
Oh,
And they did. And we couldn't make it work. We couldn't score a touchdown to end the game. So we just got a field goal. And that was the ending where it's like, we had to do it. We had to do it.
And that brings me to the aggressiveness part. That if you want to be aggressive then, but during it was a meat grinder of a game, and yet we're going for it. It's like, no, like, I don't know. Maybe he really felt, Dan Campbell, like we couldn't stop them, but I thought
he was right if that's what he thought.
Yeah, that's true. We were so aggressive throughout the game. And
Yeah.
then we get to that end part where we've got a chance here. And I just felt like, hey, I'd love to hear your opinion, obviously, on this is, let's keep it up tempo. I get you don't want to give them the ball back with a minute, but we got something. We slow it down and we leave ourselves with 30 seconds, 25. It's like, I get that, but let's go score a touchdown. Let's keep the tempo up. And we just came to a halt. We tie it, which I'm thankful we got that, but same. It's like, do you like kind of bleeding it way down and thinking about, well, what if we get ahead, I don't want to leave them time, or where are you at on that?
I have no problem bleeding it down to like the minute just under. But when we're at the 35, and there's 33 seconds left, and it's like we've ran 2 plays, and it's just like we did everything we could. And then they hurried up a little bit, but it was over the middle, and you're just like, oh man. So you take a timeout, there's 25 seconds. I'm good with bleeding it down. They just bled it down by about 20 to 25 seconds too much. So now you need perfection to score instead of you get an extra play in there. It's basically like, you got like 4 plays to score from the 30 instead of you got 6 or 7 plays to score from the 30. That's kind of where my struggle.
100%. So I got something for you. When we look at this game, I think one of the biggest problems for me was our defensive line, who's gotten pressure all year, is now going to go up and against an offensive line, the Seattle Seahawks, they've got injuries on both ends. It's like, let's go. And I have not seen Aiden Hutchinson and these guys just get stonewalled like we did today. And then when they did get through, it seemed like Geno easily moved by us. What do you think about we'll get to the defense in general, but the defensive line seemed to have a problem. What were your thoughts on that?
I don't understand it. They had 2 tackles out. They had 2 backup tackles. We had a backup tackle, and our offensive line held up pretty well, but that's one. Yeah. Like, that's one tackle. And this is going to have to be, well, I'm going to talk about Aiden in a second with this, but this is where I'm just kind of like, okay, the defensive line, somebody not named Aiden Hutchinson is going to have to get pressure because they just chipped him all game, just like the Chiefs did all game. They see film, they got tape, right? Like, they know what's going on. That's what the Chiefs did. They chipped Aiden Hutchinson on every single play. And Aiden Hutchinson's not good enough to beat that chip yet. He's not that level. So who is, right? And so, well, some are, but nobody else could get anything. So he's just sitting there and I think that's part of it. I got more thoughts on this, but what did you think about our D-line's just honestly straight lack of pressure?
Yeah, I just thought at some point that's going to pick up, and that is
it's got to, right?
Absolute game in a lot of ways. I mean, offensive line, we talk about that ad nauseum, but at some point it's got to pick up. Then I was like, okay, clearly we're not getting pressure, and we just kept with this rush 4 thing. And I love rushing 4 when you can get, and you don't have to get sacks, but you got to move him off the spot. And Hutchinson was doing that with Patrick Mahomes. So my biggest issue is not that, okay, we're not getting pressure. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. These guys, I would have loved to see more blitzes and more. Okay. Something. Didn't it look like it? We just showed our hands so much. It's like we're rushing 4 and we're in zone here and 3rd and 8. I don't know. It just felt very like disguised. I need something here because it started to get to a bleed out situation where it's like, well, I don't know what the answer is. So would you like to see more blitzes, or what more thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, it started to feel very, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say this out loud. It kind of felt like a Patricia defense. It felt like we refused to make the adjustments needed in order to stop them. In fact, what I started getting frustrated about is, so they play actioned all game. Agreed? Like, yeah. How I don't know how many times you can play action, but it wasn't until the 4th quarter that the linebackers started biting on it. Like, they've been doing it all game. Why are you biting on it now? It's just because it's pressure, it's crunch time, and they're just going to freak out a little bit. So here's the way I'm looking at it. If our linebackers are going to bite on the play action anyway, you might as well blitz one, right? But nobody was getting home if we blitzed. If we didn't, you would honestly think their 2 backup tackles were all pro tackles, like bookends, never seen anything. I mean, like, there was no pressure. And Geno, sure, he showed great pocket awareness. He moved around well. He got out, and they designed plays to be quick, but I don't even know if they had to because their line held up so well all day. I was just amazed by this. Evan Brown's in there hurt. And we can't, like, Aleem McNeil has transformed his body.
Yep.
He can't get pressure at all.
Cannot get pressure. And you're right. And so for them to play, I think it's this whole Seattle thing. I mean, it's terrible. I can't even watch it because it's play action. And then he lobs the ball up to a point of which you're like, what's going to happen here? It's a pick 6 and the guy's wide open. And so the way that it was lobbed to him, you're like, all right, he's wide open. I get it, but let's come up and get him. Nobody's around. And this is what we have not seen from this Lions defense in the last 10 games, 10, 11 games.
Thank you. We saw it at the beginning of the year last year. But we haven't seen it in the last 11 games.
No. And then, so you combine it, you combine the Seattle methodical, you just want to die, but you said it early on. They get 2 extra yards. They get, instead of getting 4, they get 6.
Yes.
And they just do all this. And then, I mean, how crazy was it though, too, on top of all that, to see the pick 6 from Goff, like you're just like, so now you're down. So, the whole thing is just hard to watch, but I think you nailed it. The defensive line, at some point, you're not getting it. We're biting on the fakes anyway. Let's bring something. let's switch it up. I don't care what we do. And I love, I don't, where's that like double A gap look, right? Something different once it was clear that we just can't stop these guys, man.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Not only can we not stop them, I can wait, but do you know what these PFF scores are going to be for our defensive line? It's going to be brutal. Like nobody was getting pressure. And then when we did, even if we did blitz, like it did not look good. The blitzing did not look good.
No,
at all. And so, yeah, we have the D line's lack of pressure, which I know some of that played into the struggles in the secondary. Like, I get that. But you know what else played into the struggles in the secondary? Jerry Jacobs. My goodness, was that bad?
Had like, a couple
here's this guy who's, he's got that dog in him, right? And he looked tentative. He looked scared. There were times where he was right there and he's just jogging. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. And it's because he got beat so bad on double moves earlier. I think he was just hanging back. Like, I don't want to get beat on the double move. So I'm just going to get beat on a normal route. It was really, really hard to watch.
Yes, it was
really hard.
Yes. How many times can Tyler Lockett just run? It's like, oh man, what kind of move was that? Or what kind of play scheme did they do? And it's like, oh no, he just ran 10 yards and then turned around and he was wide open. And you're just like, I can't watch this. And so, yes, the Jerry Jacobs stuff was really interesting. And you just look at the Seattle team. I think it was a reality check. It obviously was a reality check for all of us, myself included, where I thought we are a physical team. Like if nothing else, we are physical. And I still think we are. But I think Seattle showed. I mean, you got DK Metcalf's just a man of man. I mean, you just see that guy. But
nuts.
But like Jerry Jacobs, we looked smaller because we are like even Charbonnet looks like he's like, how big is that running back? We look smaller, a tad slower, and a tad less strong. And it was interesting and it's disheartening to see because I did not expect that to come into Ford Field. I thought the crowd would be out of control. They were. And they still couldn't do it.
Let's turn the volume up on the broadcast, though, because like they're talking about how loud the crowd is. I'm like, really? Because I can barely hear them. Yeah. And I have my volume up. I can hear the announcers just fine. And I understand they're probably behind a glass. But I'm just like, it's okay if you want to let us feel what's going on in that stadium. I'm okay with that.
I know. I would have liked that. Let's work on that. I got something else for you.
You got another something for us. Let's go. What are we going to talk about today?
So, Geno Smith, we've talked about a little bit here. Just an absolute lion killer. I don't know what it is with the offense.
What a stupid person to be a lion killer.
I know. I don't know what it is with his. He's just mobile enough. He's just athletic enough. He's just
accurate enough.
Just accurate. Exactly. Just enough arm strength. Just enough to put the hurt on us. Year after year, it's so weird. Why is he such a bad matchup for us?
So I was thinking about this a lot, and I remember last year watching him just pick us apart. And last year, actually, what really picked us apart was Kenneth Walker Jr. And that opened up everything on the play action. This year, we held the run game a little bit more in check. I mean, Kenneth Walker went 17 carries for 43 yards.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, we held that in check, but the play action still worked, which doesn't make a ton of sense. And so you have this going on, and you're like, all right, what are we looking at? But I don't think it's necessarily just Geno. I think it's the offense. I think Aaron Glenn has no clue how to defend this offense. And part of the reason is because this offense is so multiple. They have a great running game. They have 3 good wide receivers. They have 2 capable tight ends. They have a decent offensive line, so they can beat you however they want, so they can pick apart your weakness. I'm going to ask you this question. We already talked about it. All right. Not in this segment. What was our weakness on defense today, other than injuries? What one player?
Oh, yeah. Jerry Jacobs.
And they killed him.
In our D-line, and just hats off seriously to Seattle, though.
Absolutely.
Because what you could do with Geno, he could be 4 wide, and you could be in shotgun, and you could
Mhm.
just say, all right, pick them apart. But no. And this is what I just don't understand why more offenses don't do this. It's play action, it's
Yep.
rollouts, it's
Mhm.
all kinds of things. And how many times? I mean, I would love to see the next gen stats on his average length of throw was
Yeah, depth
seriously
of
probably
target, right?
4
Mhm.
yards. And then it was just little crap. And then those guys would take it 7 yards, and it's 2nd and 3. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this. And so
I know.
I give Seattle a bunch of credit that the way that they used Geno Smith. But I mean, even the few times that we got pressure, it's like, get him. And we
Get
couldn't. I
him.
don't think we brought him. Well, we did that last sack, but we didn't hit him as he threw it. I mean, he just couldn't even get close to him. It was so weird, man. I hated it.
Yeah.
Yes, here you go.
Same. And so I want to show this a little bit because you look at Geno. By the way, can we just talk? We'll talk later. Goff was awesome.
Yes.
But 32 of 41. Are you kidding me? Like 32 of 41 for 328, 2 touchdowns, no mistakes, no sacks. He was never sacked. He was never picked. By the way, Kirby Joseph could have had a pick. But that was the only one where it's like, oh, that could have been a pick. That was the only one.
Yeah.
There weren't many balls that were like
batted down.
Tested or batted down.
Yeah.
It was either he threw it away or it was a complete pass. And how frustrating is that? And by the way, it wasn't until the 4th quarter that he had 3 or 4 incompletions in a row that he got that. I mean, he was sitting there at like 22 of 26, 25 of 30, like just killing us. Hard to watch.
And yeah, I
Death
would
by
love
1,000 throws.
in one sack, and the sack was, I get why he did that, and because otherwise we don't sack him. We don't. It's really weird to see. And on top of that, I think we did him a lot of favors. We fumbled. We give him the ball right out of halftime. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's our turn, but why don't you guys take it? So they got one drive starts at like the 15, and then the other drive, we go for it on our side of the field.
Yeah.
We're up, and we just like, here you go. So we never allowed a lot of pressure on him. I mean, they were down at a couple times, but I mean, when you start the ball at midfield, there wasn't many pressure situations for Geno, and he's able to run his offense. I can't stand him, but I have a lot of respect for him because he's just a good quarterback, and they use him the right way for sure.
Yeah. And was Geno Smith ever uncomfortable?
No.
He was never uncomfortable. And so knowing that he's never uncomfortable, he's a good enough quarterback. He proved that last year that he's going to beat you. He's just going to beat you when you never make him uncomfortable. And I think we have to say this too. I made a video going in, and I don't know if you made a video similar to this going into the game, where I talked about how this is the game where the Lions prove they're for real and that this defense is different. Seahawks can't run the score up on us because we now have talent in the secondary.
That's right.
Right. And by the way, Cam Sutton was still very, very good. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh.
They just never threw to him. When they did, it was an incomplete pass. And so, like, he was still just fine, at least from what I was seeing. But they kept it away from the secondary. They took advantage of our linebackers. Anzalone did not play well. And Geno Smith, it's just like for me, I see this question of that you asked me at the beginning of this. Is Geno Smith a terrible matchup for some reason? And I think it's just the team of the Seattle Seahawks put Geno Smith in position to win.
That's right.
I mean, who couldn't make those throws? There was a couple where someone's in his face and he makes a good throw and stuff like that. But like,
you're so right.
Make those throws,
and he made a couple of just huge throws. He made a couple of really good throws. Like, all right, you're an NFL quarterback.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, it's a tight end leaking out late. Just that you throw it 3 yards downfield across your body, and then he takes it for 9 yards. And it's like that. Shout out to them. So Aaron Glenn, it's so weird because in that first half, I was like, we are so much better, man, because we had given up 50 the last 2 years each game. And I just thought, man, we've really shown improvement, and this is great. And I think, Seattle had 7 points or I don't even know what the score was, but I just felt really good about the defense. And it's like good to see improvement. This is great. And they are much better, but this is a tough matchup, and it just can't believe it didn't work out.
Matchup, but can I say something that's not going to be popular?
Hit it.
All right. There was a lot of drop passes in Kansas City. Agreed.
Oh,
there were a lot of open receivers.
Yep.
Maybe, just maybe, the secondary is not as improved as we thought or hoped, and we're gonna find out some things over the next 2 weeks when we play the Falcons and the Packers. Like this is where we got to get these, and it's just gonna be. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I know people don't want to talk about this. I know we don't. This isn't fun,
right?
but at the same time, like we gotta see this. And can I just say too, the frustration in the game that I think lost some stuff. It's very obvious that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is hurt. It's very obvious he was playing hurt. Kirby Joseph seemed to lose a step when he came back into the game. At the end of the game, Hutchinson gets hurt. Like, I know I'm missing people. Like, the injuries like crazy on the defensive side early, and then the offense is just decimated. That's a different topic for a different time, I guess. That was the slow death. Like, come
100%.
on.
100%. Just ridiculous. And I guess I still don't know where I fall with Aaron Glenn, because this was for me the turning the page. Okay, we can just put to bed that Aaron Glenn is like sucks, right? Like, he can do it. We're doing a lot of good things. And I'm not ready to say fire him, but I'm also like, it's just a bad matchup. That's why you say these next 2 games, they're huge. We got to figure they're winnable games against teams that like that Seattle's team. Dang, man, they're physical against us, and hard to believe.
I just wanted to put this comment up here because it says, is nobody going to talk about how we got out coached? Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach, and he had his team prepared. We are talking about how we got out coached. We're talking about how they kept putting Geno Smith in position to win. There's no doubt about that. Like, it's 3 years in a row that this has happened. I'm not going to say we got out coached in all facets, because I thought Ben Johnson called a phenomenal game. Mm-hmm. The fact that we came back in the game without pretty much Montgomery, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Laporta. Hello, thank you. But like, the fact that we came back and did those things, like there were some good things that we did on offense, and not to mention without Decker and then without Vaitai. That sucks, by the way. Vaitai. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
He's out. Yeah. Let's switch gears, Craig. You had a couple things you want to talk about.
I do. So I want to talk about this. Turnovers. And if you look at the box score, it says 3. It's not 3, it's 2. Chris, where are you at with the turnovers, and do we win this game? Like, we understand I understand there's difficulties that we had. We couldn't stop them. And we had our own issues. But if we don't have 2 turnovers in this game, I'm calling it 2, not 3, because the St. Brown at the end of the half doesn't matter.
Right.
Do we win this game?
Oh, man, these turnovers, we're not just turnovers either. These are the big turnovers, and the pick 6, it just holds true. If you do that, you're going to lose. Not going to win. Like, I don't know why.
You said it last week.
Yeah.
You said it last week.
Is a crazy stat out there that teams that get pick 6 or a scoop and score throughout the course of the NFL, right? The course of history, if you get that, those teams have won like 98% of the time. It's a huge, huge play, and you can't overcome it. And we basically had 2 of them where, all right, first play coming out of half, here you go, you guys take it. And it's like that, you cannot overcome that stuff. And so I give Seattle a bunch of credit, but I've been wondering about Montgomery for a while, and now he fumbled it in a way that I wasn't concerned about. He kind of got it ripped weird, but
he hasn't been protecting the ball well.
He doesn't protect the ball, and it's only a matter of time. So that's something that's going to be interesting going forward. But these turnovers were the game, and we didn't get the turnovers. That's the whole thing. And not that we turned the ball over. I think, and I'll throw it back to you. Yes, the turnovers were huge, but we didn't get the turnovers because they played so efficiently on offense and just killed us. So where are you at on the turnovers and what that meant?
Yeah, I want to talk about what you said with David Montgomery for a second. So there's somewhere in our live show that, the 4-hour live feed from our Chiefs game that we did last week, where we're like, that's a fumble. Like he's going to fumble the ball, right? He's going to fumble the ball, and it's going to be a turnover. And then sure enough, there it goes. And I
Yep.
don't think he was known for that
No,
in
I don't think
Chicago.
so.
I don't know for a fact, I don't remember that being a thing. And not that I try and watch Chicago football. I don't. I do my best not to watch the Bears unless they're playing us. And so I think it's one of those things where it's like, man, that's rough. But then he gets injured anyway. The turnovers for me, it's turnovers you can survive. You can survive with a turnover if it's a turnover on downs inside of the 5-yard line, inside of the opponent's 5-yard line. You can survive if you're in the opponent's territory and you give up an interception. Like it's deflating. We did it. We survived it last week. We had a turnover inside the opponent 20, 30-yard line, Marvin Jones. We survived because we created one. You can't survive a pick six. You can't survive turning the ball over on your own 20, 25-yard line. And you certainly can't survive both. We almost did. Like that in some ways, what I'm going to say sounds dumb, and people are going to go nuts on the comments, and they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Right. In some ways, the fact that we had 2 turnovers and almost won this game the way we did, 3-2, you get it.
Yep.
Is almost talks to our resilience, I guess. It's weird.
And I think we are still a good team. It's hard to it's hard to understand how Seattle could come across the country, play terrible at home in their home opener, come across the country, 1 p.m. start. Our home crowd is going to do the greatest performance that we can as far as noise and antics and everything we can. And they just dink and dunk it down the field all game. And we lose to this team, right? So it's hard to just be like, we're good. We're still good, but whatever. I still think we're really good, but yeah, these turnovers were huge. We didn't get a turnover. Like you and I said it. We said in our live show last game against the Chiefs, all right, we got to make a play. They've gotten a turnover. We haven't. That's the difference in this game. Let's make a play. And Brian Branch comes through. And we never had, that's another thing. We never had that big play. Unless you can think of something that was like, well, the flea flicker. Well, there was a flea flicker, but outside of that, we just struggled, man. I don't know. It's just,
I can actually think of 2 things. I think I can think of we never had a big play, but I can think of 15 times where it felt like we gave up a big play on 3rd and 12, 3rd and 18, when they ended up scoring after they got offensive, pass interference. And there was they got moving, they were moving back. It was like 3rd and 18 or 1st and 20 or something like that inside of our 30. And I'm just like, what are we doing? And they just kept doing it over and over and over. And it's like, yeah, the offense is really multiple. So here's what I'm trying to figure out, though. We can't force turnovers. We're giving turnovers. Our defense can't stop this team. What happened to them last week? Like, what happened to the Seahawks last week? And why did we refuse not to play a defense in the similar manner as the Rams? Like, why did we just keep doing our stuff that didn't work the last 2 years?
Yes, you nailed it. Like, hey, we go into this game, let's get a little weird. You're right, because you look at the Rams defense. I mean, they got a bunch of nobodies out there now, and it just seems like you could just bully the Rams, and instead we get bullied. And not even bullied. It's so hard to put into words because it was just this. It's just six yards of play, and and you can't stop. And yeah, you nailed it. How many times are they going to be 2nd and 20, and then on that play they get 16 yards, and now it's 3rd and 4, and they get it, and it's like, I can't watch this anymore. I'm gonna. That was terrible, man.
And here's the thing. Can I ask you a second question? What killed us more, turnovers or injuries?
Oh,
because you want me to go through some of them. Montgomery, and he got taken off on a cart. That sucks. Because we don't have another back of that caliber. Yet, don't get me. I'm not saying Gibbs isn't great, and I'm not saying he won't be great. I'm just saying we don't have another between the tackles back like Montgomery.
No.
So he gets carted off. Amon-Ra St. Brown probably missed 25% of the snaps, and at crucial times. Vaitai is going to be out. I mean, that does not look good. All right. He could put zero weight on it. I just, Decker's already out. Then you go to the defense. People are in and out. It's just like, what is going on? How does this happen every year? It's a new field at Ford Field. It shouldn't be the turf, but sorry, I'm saying too much. No, what hurt us more?
The injuries were interesting because CJ Gardner-Johnson goes out, Kirby Joseph, those guys get dinged up, then they come back in, and it's like, okay, cool. And I remember thinking, hey, those guys in the past, they'd be out for the game a couple weeks, but hey, we got new medicine doctor, and I don't even know what I was thinking. I'm just feeling all good, like, hey, this is great. We don't get injured anymore.
Bodies are better prepared, so it's not as awful of an injury.
We really push these guys in training camp, and so it's like, oh man, we're not going to get injured. And next thing you know, all these key players are out. They're playing so physical on us, and that was just disheartening because it was like second game of the year. Seattle comes in here and plays out of their minds, and just they're injuring us, or they're not injuring us, but it's just a way physical, more physical game than I was expecting. And yes, so the injuries were a huge part. I mean, they just were, and in huge parts of the game. It's the second game of the season. Now we gotta rebound, and that's gonna be the game. That's gonna be the season, obviously, is going forward. Do we rebound against an Atlanta Falcons team that's not that good? They can't be great. They're not. Who knows, right? What do I know? They're not great though. I mean, come on, you got to win.
They're beatable. Games. They're a very beatable team.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So I don't know.
But they're going to come at us with an offense very similar.
Oh my gosh.
To what Seattle runs. The only difference is they're going to rely more heavily on the run, and Seattle was willing to throw it 40 times. Atlanta's not going to throw it 40 times.
Right. Wouldn't you just go to this film all day, every day? And that's what scares me about these lower tier quarterbacks that we're going to face this year, because that's one of the things we face, lower tier quarterbacks. But that's the problem, is they're going to be like, all right, let's just settle this offense down. We'll do what Seattle does. We'll leak out a little this, a little that. It's like
little leak, little cross the formation, ton of play action. So
man,
okay, so yeah. I want to talk about something positive. Like, let's have a good conversation point. And one of my big takeaways after watching this game is that we have the answer at quarterback. And it is Jared Goff. He is a good quarterback. I think he is border. I don't care what people are saying. I'm going to say top 10. He's in a top tier of quarterbacks. Most people say third tier. I think he's in the second tier of quarterbacks. What do you think about Jared Goff, especially after watching the first two games of the season?
100% agree. Jared Goff is playing so well. We can't take this for granted. Yes, the pick six, and it's just going to happen. But overall, there's so many good plays that he made. Pressure in his face. He doesn't have Amon-Ra's beat up. He doesn't have like elite receivers out there. I mean, we're not. Seattle did the same thing that the Chiefs did. Everybody's up. Safeties are up. They're pressing us. I mean, doesn't it feel like everything was tight? Everything was challenging, but Jared Goff stood in there, made so many big plays, hits Laporta on so many big plays. We just got to remember that we go back to when he was traded to us. We just were thinking, boy, it'd be nice if he was good, right? Like, I think he's good. Is he not good? And we had this debate.
No, you were like, what if?
Yeah, what if? We had this debate constantly amongst fans.
Like, what if?
And it's like, if I would have told you and showed you what he's doing, you'd been like, oh my gosh, we got him and a bunch of first round picks. That we are in good shape because of Jared Goff. Nothing else needs to be said about going forward, defense, all this. We have Goff. We've got good players. We're going to be in games. We have Jared. We have a quarterback.
And I'm going to go a little bit beyond that. And I'm going to bring this back up. 28 of 35, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns. I get it. He had a pick six. Okay. I'm not going to kill him for an interception because he had just come off the third longest streak in NFL history without throwing an interception. So let's not go nuts on this dude for a pick six. We have not gone 9-2 in the last 11 games if Jared Goff hasn't been interception free like he has.
That's right.
He has been a lack of turnover machine. So here's what I see Jared Goff having to do in this game. I see him with a defense that he knows can't stop the opponent. all right, in this game. I see him go down a running back. I see him, the running back that you can just hand the ball off to and get 5 or 6 yards, because that's what Montgomery was seeming to do. We'll go with 4 yards. All right. I think he averaged a little over 4 yards a carry. So he had that going. He lost that. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown's out. And what does he do? Instead of saying Amon-Ra St. Brown, okay, I'll go to Josh Reynolds. Oh, okay, I'll go to Sam Laporta. I will adjust. I will do what I have to do. Every podcast, every radio show, anywhere is still saying you can win with Jared Goff. And the narrative around him is he's a guy that if everything around him is perfect, you can win with him. Well, I got news flash. Everything around him wasn't perfect. He still almost won this game. And that's it.
Not to mention, you nailed it. I love everything you said, because you're right. Oh, Goff's good as long as he's got a clean pocket, 72 degrees. It's like
just under 3 mile an hour wind.
Yeah, in elite receivers. We have seen him time after time, this game included, where he gets smoked in the back on that late hit. He's a baller, and he's tough. And by the way, that late hit, I was like, oh, throw him out of the league. And then there's a different angle where Goff is holding his hands.
Wait, is he throwing?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, you can keep him in the league. But I just love, he's a gamer, and he does. He's like a good looking guy from California. So it's like, dude, get tougher. Like, what are we doing? And it's like, no, he is a baller, man. And we're lucky to have him, and we can't take this for granted, because you nailed it. Pick 6, I get it, but up until that point, he's 3rd in NFL history in a streak of passes. So we're going to be we're going to be just fine. This game, I still can't put my arms around just what I saw, because that's a good defense too. And we're putting up points. We're throwing, I just really struggle with, what else he can do. I mean, what more do you need from this guy? He is really good.
Is it?
We're lucky to have him.
He's it. The only thing he could do better is magically run a 4.5.
Yeah.
And he's not that. But I don't know anyone who can run a 4.5, and I don't think Mahomes can run a 4.5 that can sling it like this guy. I mean, his ability is his accuracy is his greatest ability. I am routinely amazed at what he can do with a bunch of different people. And when Jameson Williams comes back to this offense and changes that deep threat, like I am like salivating at the mouth, just like, yes, get back here. And this is going to be fantastic, because Goff could, he could be pushing some serious yardage totals this year.
Yes, because we are missing that piece. We tried to do stuff with Khalif Raymond, and I love Khalif Raymond, but we just don't have it yet. We need somebody to go, and not a lot of teams. But the truth is, not a lot of teams have it, where you have just a Jameson Williams that's going to come off the bench here in week 7 or whatever. But what a luxury that'll be. And Goff, we are in good shape. I got the injuries pulled up here. You forget about Pascal, didn't play. Decker, of course, Vitek. So we're gonna have to take a minute, let all these injuries unfold. This was a brutal game, and we got to go forward. But we have Goff, and that's what
we have Goff. Everybody isn't it weird to say that? We used to say, hey, we got Stafford, right? Like, Goff has put together what is now a 12-game stretch that is better than any 12-game stretch Stafford put together. And yes, I am saying that confidently, because when Stafford had his year that he threw for so many yards and just went nuts, 40% of them were just chucking it up to Kelvin.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Like when he was young, he wasn't a great quarterback yet. He was just in a good spot. But by the way, can I say something that's embarrassing?
Yeah.
You see this comment down here? Oh, never mind. It just went away. At the end where it says Montgomery SMH, that is shaking my head. Yes. I didn't know that until a week ago.
Oh, perfect. Welcome.
What a boomer. Like,
it's so well needed in a lot of texts, because you're just like,
and it's in text all the time. And do you want to know what I thought it was?
Same. I don't know. What did you think it was?
So much hate.
I
used to think LOL meant lots of laughs.
Yep.
I mean, that one's closer.
Yeah, that one's you could get away with that. Be like, oh man, they're laughing. They're lots
But
of
people
laughing.
are putting SMH on text to me and stuff. I'm like, there's no hate. I don't understand what's going on.
No,
shaking my head. Yeah, it was.
I'm good. I
didn't relax. Let's just put it that way. What I'm going to do is when we get off this live, I'm going to check out my fantasy football. I'm going to check out and see what's going on. And I'm going to hope that that's going better than what happened with the Lions and that I'm not losing in the final seconds. Because
unbelievable.
That was brutal.
I just don't ever want to play Seattle. We play them every year. It's just
every year. It's the new Arizona.
Oh, and that was terrible too. They were always
hated it.
Weird. So okay, I think we're good. We're fine. We're fine. That was a brutal loss. One that you gotta. What's up with, dude? How many big games can we have at Ford Field and lose?
Oh,
you go back throughout the history. I could look it up, but man, there's been so many gotta have it games. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers for the division 1 year comes in here, crowd's just roaring. No problem. There's the Atlanta game where we had the runoff. There's the Pittsburgh game. Let's go. Where we kicked a bunch of field goals. Then we finally go for it. Don't get it. Then they throw like a 95-yard touchdown. They win that game. So anyway,
good memory. One. I'm proud of you for that. That was really impressive.
I don't know.
Here's the deal. Here's my final takeaway.
Yep.
And it's a two-parter. Offense is still what we thought they were.
Yep.
They are. The offense is good. We're in good hands. Seattle doesn't have a horrible defense in there, and we still did a good job against them. We were fine against the Chiefs. We moved the ball well. This defense and Aaron Glenn should be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. This is a call out, not from me. Like everybody watching this game the defense needs to be held accountable for what just happened. Because with Kansas City, the defense played well, but there was a lot of luck involved, a lot of drop passes, a lot of those things. We even talked about it last week, so this isn't new. It's not like we're just making it up. I'm telling you right now, the biggest struggle is this defense. We've got the talent. It should be able to change.
Yes, I agree. We'll see what we do. We'll see how the defense. These next two games are huge, and I mean Dan Campbell at some point might have to look at his buddy, his boy, and just be like, "What do we do? This isn't working, Aaron. We need to." I don't know. It's one game, and I think we're okay. So
3-1 after 4 games, and everybody will forget this ever happened.
That's right. So thanks for joining us on this post game. We love it. We're out of here. We'll be back throughout the week. Videos coming, and let's just go take a minute, Craig, and I don't know. I'm gonna go get some Subway.
Oh, yeah. Great! Eat fresh. They now slice it in house. The meat.
You're gonna smell like it, but you know when you don't have it a lot,
smell like Subway.
You don't care. But when you know what I mean, so
yeah, you're gonna smell it. That's okay. I mean, it's better than smelling like Steak and Shake or something.
Oh,
yeah,
Steak and Shake. All right, man. I'll catch you later. Thanks for everybody for coming on. Don't know what to think yet, still, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.